So, what's happening, everybody? Chris here from Test the Speed Shop. So, today I'm going to work on the Chevelle because I'm getting it ready for the No Name Nationals. So, there's just some stuff that I've been trying to get done on it, and before I get to go. Unfortunately, I thought maybe we would have that hood on and painted and everything, but that just didn't pan out. A lot of it was just the weather has just been so hot, and a lot of it, and some of it's money and not having any money, so not enough to spend on it, because there's other things that I wanted to do besides the hood, and I just kind of short on cash. So unfortunately, that's one of those deals where that's a want and it's not a need, and we need to do things to make it run. So at any rate, it's going to go the way it is now. So I guess maybe in the fall I'll try working on the hood and doing some other things, and maybe next year we'll be able to get that stuff done. But it's just not going to happen this year because funds are a little short. So, but at any rate, I've been working on. I had a problem. I don't know if anybody else has had a problem. They run an MSD Pro Billet distributor, but I've had a problem. Even I had this problem even when it was on the 396. The problem I have is that you put the advancement springs on that they call for in the graph. MSD has a little graph here. They use bushings and different things of that nature to give you an idea of where your advance rate is going to be. And every time I do that, it seems like when I put the springs on, they're good, but then, give it a month or 2 months or later down the road, after the car's been driven and had heat cycles, all of a sudden they lose tension, and then the timing's coming in way too early. So I had it set up to run, but I had the timing pretty much I had it retarded back so that it wouldn't ping, because we just weren't getting past the threshold. So I finally had enough of it, and I started messing with it again. So I didn't really know what else to do. I had some points, Delco points distributor weights here from some advancement kits, but I noticed that the shapes on them were different than what the MSD weights were. But then I remembered I had an extra MSD distributor upstairs. So I went up and got that, and went ahead and pulled the weights out of it. And then what I did is I drilled a 7/64 hole in the end of the weight. Now I did this on both the weights. I did it so that they were both in the same spot. I lined them up on top of each other so that they were in the same spot, so that where we took the weight out would be the same on both. So the way we had it set up before with the original weights is that we were getting about, what was it? Because I had it turned back. We were getting about 30 degrees total at 2,700 RPM, and that was with a heavy spring and a medium spring. So I wanted to bump. I wanted to get more timing out of it. So that was with an 18 degree bushing, which is the black bushing, and that was with 12 initial. So I went ahead and I changed it. I thought, well, let's mess with it some more. I thought, well, if I go to a bigger bushing, it'll bring it in later. Well, I went to a 12 degree, or I went to the blue bushing, which is a 21 degree. I still kept it at the same 12 degrees initial, which is about 33, 34. And it was still coming in too early. It was coming in, again, about 2,700. It was like it made no difference. I mean, it's only 3 degrees in the bushing, but you would think it would make a difference. And according to the old graph on here, with a black bushing and a blue and heavy spring, where's the black bushing at? Right there. It should have been coming in about 20, probably about 20, 30, no, 3,500, 3,600, right around there. So 1,000 RPM difference. And we tried all kinds of springs. I even had some point springs out of some advanced kits, and none of that would, we just couldn't get it to come above 2700 RPM. So we messed with it, and then we finally gave up. We just set it up the way it was, and I thought, well, I'll get back to it later. Well, later turned into that. So needless to say, we're getting to it now. So anyways, right now the way it's set up, it's got a 21 degree bushing in it. It's set up at 12 degrees initial, so about 33, 34 degrees total. So all I did was drill these two weights with the hole and put them back in. Ran the same springs. Then everything, I did that, the change was pretty immense. It went from 2700 to not coming in totally till 4500. So I guess the weight, taking a little bit of weight out of them really helped. So now we're set up with I changed it to 2 medium blue springs, so now everything is coming in at 3000 RPM. And of course on their graph here, you know, the graph is always, I don't ever go by this thing anymore. With the blue, well, they're saying, yeah, they're saying about 32 with 2 blue springs and the blue bushing. So it's actually coming in where it's supposed to, just by taking a little bit of this weight out of that advance weight. So I don't know, I kind of got desperate because I got tired of it. I bought, I don't know how many spring kits. I got piles of springs and bushings and extra stuff here that from buying spring kits, because they would just wear out. You know, the springs would just lose their tension. And you know, this graph here, I mean, it's nice for when you first started, but for some reason it just wouldn't, they just don't hold that RPM and hold that advancement. It just ends up coming in too soon. So right now it's set up there, and it seems to be, I have driven it with that, and it seems to be working pretty good. So I don't know if this is a problem with MSDs, or, you know, I don't know. I'd like to hear some feedback on that if anybody's had any experience with this, because I don't know, it just seems to be a problem. Unless it's just my car. I don't know. I don't know if maybe it's just too much under hood heat that causes the issues. I don't know. So that's all taken care of. So I'll put that weight and spring back in. And next thing we need to do is I need to pull this carburetor off, because since the carburetor is as old as the freaking car is, the problem here is that there's all kinds of play in the freaking, where it doesn't hardly even, yeah, you can see it doesn't even hardly move it. So I'm gonna pull the carb off, and I've seen this before. I'll just throw like 2 tack welds on it just to hold it together. But I got to pull the carburetor off and drain all the gas out of it, and pull the bowls so I don't burn myself down, because that's the problem too, and that just keeps getting worse. I tried peening it over a little more with a chisel and a punch and stuff like that, and it just doesn't help anymore. It's just because the carburetor's so old. So I'm gonna get that pulled off, and then I'll get that on the bench, and then I'll bring you guys back. So see you in a bit. Well, hey, I'm back. So carburetor's off. So you can probably, I'm trying to do this with one hand, which is pretty difficult, but I don't know if you can see it, how well you guys can, yeah, see, you can, right about there, it's not really even moving the throttle shaft. So we need to fix that. So I'll get that straightened out. This carburetor is a 3310, and this is a -1. This is a 780 Holly. I don't know how old it is. I never I never looked at the freaking date on it. They have dates on them. I never looked it up. I don't know what it is. It could be 75. I don't know. But I like these because they have a lot of things in them that the new Holleys do not have when they started cheaping them out on the Dash 2s. This is actually a 4150 carburetor because it has a secondary metering block from the factory. Has dual power valves that I do run 2 power valves in it. One of the interesting things about them is if you look down here at the primaries, you notice that there's these little pieces that are on the boosters. What they are for is that this carburetor was originally designed for the 65 396 375 horse and 425 horse in the Chevelle and the Corvettes. And what those are is that it's like a mixture balancing for the dual plane intake on the Chevrolets. Now if you ever look at one, they used the same basic design, but it was I think it was an 850 they used on the L88s and the Z01s. And if you look at those, because they have it's a dual plane looking intake, but the plenum is milled down to the bottom to the floor. And if you look at them, they have a different mixture tab scenario on them. So that's why those are in there. A lot of things that are on this thing, like if you look at the bottom here of this, is that this has thin throttle blades on the secondary side. It has smaller screws. And I'm assuming that's probably where they get all their extra flow from on these things. So another thing that's nice about the older Holleys is that this down here is where your vacuum secondaries pick up the air to open them up. And Holley has kind of eliminated that on a lot of their new carburetors. Now it's just a hole. And a lot of guys say that that doesn't work as well because it's not in the airstream. It's just in the side of the freaking barrel, and they say it doesn't work that well. So this is the second one of these I've had. I like these carburetors because I don't know, they just work. Every single one of them that I've had has just worked. We put one on Marty's Cutlass and it just works. And I don't know, it's just, to me, they're just a better all-around carburetor because, like I said, Holley cheaped out. When they went to the Dash 2, it went to a 4160 carburetor, and that's when they eliminated the secondary metering block. They got rid of the down leg boosters and went to straight boosters. I think they went to a thicker throttle shaft on the secondary side. So there's a lot of things on this carburetor that a lot of the higher end Holleys have now, but I don't know, this thing works good. I actually have an 870 Street Avenger that I was going to try on the Chevelle, and I don't even want to put it on because this one works so well. So let me get this thing apart and get set up here, because I got to take some things off. I'll try and get it welded tonight. I don't know, I might let it air out. We'll see. We'll see how bad it stinks. It's still really humid here, so the air's thick, and I don't want to blow myself up. So I'll bring you back here in a few minutes. So hey, I'm back. So got the carburetor done. I ended up not welding this. I ended up just peening it with a center punch, and that just seemed to do it. It tightened it up pretty good. Feels much better than it did. So it's all back together. Just got to get it back on the car. The one thing I wanted to check was I have one of these cool carbs on here, and it's like an aluminum and a polymer and stuff like that. Now this thing's been on the car a long, long time. A couple years, more than a couple years, probably 7 or 8 years, maybe more. But Tom had a problem with his that it actually started to melt. And if you look on the internet, you'll find some issues where guys had problems with this polymer in here that was actually starting to melt. So this is actually an upper part of it that you get 2 pieces when you get this stuff from this guy, and he gives you 2 pieces. And this one is actually starting to separate and fall apart. And Johnny had one on his Oldsmobile, and that melted too. And yours melted. Yours was all pushed out. Yours was all pushed out. Now you can see a little bit here that this is starting to push out, and this is actually in one spot. It's actually starting to separate from the aluminum. So when Tom bought his, what did the guy say? You can't run a heat crossover.
Heat crossover.
He never told me that when I bought mine. So, but I
had mine blocked off.
Yeah, you had yours blocked off, and it's still started to fall apart. Now, if you look at this one, you can see in the corners real slightly it's starting to push out a little bit. I mean, it's probably still usable, and it's probably all right, but I don't know. It might be a matter of time. Now, this upper one actually could feel a divot. You can actually see a dent in it. If you kind of, I'm not sure how good of a picture. Yeah, you can. There's a little divot in it. You can actually feel like there's a dent in it for some strange reason. Like the aluminum is actually coming off, or it's actually got hot enough that it started to move this polymer around. So that's coming off. I don't want to put that back on. So I have an old GM aluminum heat shield, and I'm putting that back on. And then that black gasket there is actually an Edelbrock heat isolator that a friend of mine gave me. And I've read the reviews on Summit on them, and guys really swear by them, so I don't know. I guess we'll see how this is going to work out. So, I don't know. We'll see. Now we're going to get the carb bolted back on and see if we can make it run. See if this thing's going to puke its guts out all over the intake or what. So, let me get this thing on here and I'll bring you back. Cool. Alright, we're back. Carburetor's on. Ended up having to replace some fuel line down from the filter down there to the pump because the line was all cracked and falling apart. So, we ended up replacing that. Got it running. It's running good. Since Tom was here, I checked the total timing again. Well, with the blue springs, what was it, 38?
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the light one and the blue one, what was it? About the same.
With the blue one and the light one now, it's 39.
It's 39. I don't know. Maybe because that light spring's a new spring. I thought that was all coming in at 3, but evidently it must be coming in higher. But like I said, these springs tend to lose tension on me, so we're going to run it around and put some heat cycles in it. We're going to see what it's going to end up at, because these things are famous for losing tension. So, but the curve's pretty nice on it. It runs up pretty good, and it comes off idle. The curve comes right off idle. So we'll run it around and see what happens. But I know that those springs, like I said, they lose tension. At least they did on the other one. Remember how much they lost tension with the other weights.
With the other weights.
And I don't understand why I kept doing that. And as you can see, a hurricane just passed through here, and now this soupy is crazy. It is nuts. Sweating my butt off out here. So, but everything seems to be working good. That little spacer that I put on there, that little isolator thing, boy, that thing seems to be working pretty good. The carburetor was actually starting to sweat. How about it, Tom?
Yeah.
It was actually starting to sweat because it was so cool. Obviously we're just sitting in the garage here idling, so there's no under hood heat or anything like that. So we'll see how it all works out once we get it down the road and put some heat soak into it and see how that's all going to work out. So hopefully that'll work out good. But seems to be working all right. It's running good. So, all right. Well, that's going to be it for this one. We're getting the car ready for the No Names. And I got some more stuff I got to look at and check out and probably do, so I'll be doing videos on that stuff too as I start working on that stuff, getting it ready to go. So, alright, see ya.